I know that many people believe a mother's pain never truly heals, that children will always be children, no matter what they do. But those people have never been betrayed by their own daughter at the very moment they needed her love and loyalty most. My name is Deborah Miller. I'm 63 years old, and I live in a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. This is the story that still wakes me up in the middle of the night, heart clenched not from sadness anymore, but from the scar of truth. I raised someone capable of taking away not only my money, but also the blind trust of a mother's heart. It all began on a Tuesday in December, a day that seemed as ordinary as any other. I had just finished work. I've been a cleaning lady in office buildings for more than 40 years, the kind of person who knows every corner, every stubborn stain by heart. That day, my back hurt worse than usual. I'd spent all day on my knees scrubbing floors in a dental clinic. All I wanted was to go home, take a warm shower, and rest. The Route 42 bus was as packed as always in the afternoon. I stood the whole ride, gripping the metal rail, feeling the pain spread up my spine. At 63, my body isn't what it used to be, but I can't stop working. Ashley, my daughter, still needs my help. So do my two grandchildren, Ethan, 8 years old, and Lily, 6. And the monthly bills for this house never seem to understand the word retirement. I got off at the corner of Maplewood, a name that sounds peaceful for a modest neighborhood where everyone knows each other. I stopped by Mr. Johnson's small grocery store, the one I go to every day to buy a bottle of soda. While standing at the counter, I noticed a pile of Powerball tickets tossed among some papers. They were wrinkled, ignored. On a sudden impulse, I joked, "Mr. Johnson, sell me one of those tickets. Maybe today's my lucky day." He chuckled warmly. "Mrs. Deborah, you're always so optimistic. Which numbers are you picking?" I didn't think much about it. I chose 3 is Ashley's birthday, 15 is mine, and the rest are milestones: the day she got her first job, the day I bought this house, and the birthdays of my two grandkids. I paid $5, folded the ticket carefully, tucked it into my wallet with some loose change for bread, and then forgot all about it. To me, it was just a small dream in the middle of an ordinary life. Ashley had been living with me since her divorce 3 years ago, along with the two kids. My house is small, an old 2-story home, but it's always full of children's laughter. Upstairs are 2 bedrooms. I share one with Lily, while Ashley sleeps with Ethan. Downstairs, we have a little living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. Not much, but it's the only home we've got. I keep the household running with my cleaning jobs and weekend shifts. My income is just a little above minimum wage, but I always try to make sure the kids don't go without. Ashley is still, as she puts it, figuring out her career. She's worked at a few marketing firms, but never lasted long. Always some conflict with the boss or coworkers, or she'd say the job didn't inspire her. I don't complain. Raising a child alone isn't easy, and after her failed marriage, she needed time to get back on her feet. When I got home that evening, the smell of food filled the kitchen. Ashley was cooking a rare sight, which usually meant she was in a good mood. The kids came running out, shouting, "Grandma!" then wrapped their arms around me. Moments like that made all the exhaustion disappear. "How was work today, Mom?" Ashley asked while stirring the pan. "Same as always. A bit tiring, but done," I said, slipping off my shoes and sighing in relief. "What smells so good?" "Chicken stroganoff, Ethan's favorite." "Really? Smells wonderful. Thank you, sweetheart." "Sit down, Mom. You've worked too hard." In moments like that, every sacrifice felt worth it. Just seeing my daughter and grandchildren smiling together around that little kitchen table, that was happiness enough. On Saturday morning, as always, I woke up at 6 a.m. I brewed coffee, made breakfast. Ashley and the kids were still asleep. A rare moment of calm, just me and the quiet of dawn. While cooking lunch later that morning, the TV in the living room was on, playing the Powerball drawing. The kids were watching cartoons, and Ashley was upstairs folding clothes. I only had the TV on for background noise until I heard the first number, 3. I looked up. 15, 23, 27, 52, 11. My God, those were my numbers. My hands trembled. I dropped the spoon and ran to the fridge, grabbed my wallet. My fingers shook so hard I nearly tore the ticket. I checked once, twice, 3 times. It couldn't be true. After 63 years of hard work, scraping by penny, could it be that luck had finally found me? Ashley! I screamed. Ashley, come down here now! She ran downstairs, face full of worry, the kids close behind her. Mom, what's wrong? You look pale. I held up the ticket, my hands trembling. Sweetheart, I think I won the lottery. Ashley's eyes went wide. She grabbed the ticket and looked up at the TV just as the announcer said, "There's only one winning ticket. All 6 numbers match. The prize, $1.7 million. For someone who barely made $40,000 a year, that was nothing short of a whole new life. Mom! Ashley screamed, wrapping her arms around me. Mom, it's real. We actually won. After everything we've been through, God finally looked down on us. We both burst into tears right there in the kitchen. It was a feeling I'd never experienced in all my 63 years. My 2 grandkids started jumping up and down. They didn't understand what was happening, only that Grandma and Mom were happy. Grandma won the money! Ethan shouted. So much money! Lily laughed, clapping her hands. Ashley held the ticket in her hands, checking each number again. Mom, I can't believe it. After everything, our lives are really going to change. 3 generations of us, me, Ashley, and the 2 kids, sat around that little kitchen table, our eyes glued to that small piece of paper, as if it were treasure. And it was. It was a ticket to a new life. No more struggling, no more debt, no more choosing between paying for medicine or buying food. That afternoon, and all through the night, we stayed up late talking about our plans. We'd pay off the debts, a few credit card balances, the fridge payments, and some overdue utility bills. Then we'd fix up the little house in Portland. The roof had been leaking for years, and I'd always dreamed of a bigger kitchen. Mom, we can buy a car, Ashley said, her eyes sparkling. It doesn't have to be fancy, just something nice enough so you don't have to cram onto the bus every day. We talked about the little things we'd always dreamed of, going grocery shopping without counting every penny, buying a new outfit without guilt, taking the kids to the beach for the first time, maybe even a weekend picnic, things I'd never been able to afford. Ashley added, her voice soft with emotion. Mom, you've worked your whole life for me and the kids. You've woken up before dawn for years just to keep us afloat. Now it's time for you to rest and actually enjoy life. Those words made my heart tighten. I felt, for the first time, that my daughter finally understood all the sacrifices I had carried silently for decades. All those years I worked without complaint, never expecting anything in return, just hoping one day she'd see and appreciate it. And it seemed that day had finally come. We even talked about taking the kids to California so they could see the ocean for the first time. I'd once promised Ethan and Lily that someday I'd take them to the beach, but there had never been enough money. Now, that dream could finally come true. Ashley then said, Mom, I've always dreamed of opening my own shop. Maybe now we can do it together. A little clothing boutique, or a gift store. Something just ours. I felt an overwhelming joy, not because of the money, but because I saw hope in my daughter's eyes again. She was talking about the future, full of excitement, and including me in every plan. In that moment, I saw the old Ashley, the gentle, grateful, bright-eyed girl I had raised. And I truly believed that, at last, our relationship had turned a corner toward peace, free from financial worry. That Sunday, we agreed that the next morning, Monday, I would go to Wells Fargo Bank to start the prize claim process. Ashley volunteered to come along. Mom, let me go with you. These things can be complicated, lots of paperwork. It'll be easier if I'm there. I carefully placed the ticket in my wallet, tucked it into an envelope with my ID and other important papers. Before going to bed, I took it out one more time, just to make sure this wasn't a dream. Everything matched the numbers, the date, and the store where I'd bought it. That night, I lay down with a peace I hadn't felt in years. For the first time in forever, I wasn't worrying about rent, bills, or tomorrow's meals. For the first time, I allowed myself to dream of a different future. The next morning, I still went to work as usual. I didn't want to skip, because I've always been responsible about my job. But all day, my mind drifted, imagining what our new life might look like, a life without constant struggle. I told Mrs. Marlene, the longtime client whose house I cleaned, about the win. She was overjoyed for me, held my hand, and said, "Deborah, you deserve this. After all those years of hard work, it's finally your time to be happy." Then she let me leave early. When I got home that afternoon, I wanted to check the ticket one more time before heading to the bank. I opened my wallet, reached for the envelope where I had carefully placed it. It wasn't there. A cold chill ran down my spine. I tore through my purse, every pocket, every hidden corner. Nothing. Panic started flooding in. I ran into my room, opened every drawer, checked every coat pocket, lifted the bed, the blankets, the pillows. "Ashley!" I shouted when I saw her sitting in the living room with the kids. "Have you seen my lottery ticket?" "I'm sure I put it in my wallet, but it's gone." Ashley's eyes widened, her face a mix of surprise and concern. "Oh my God, Mom, that's strange. Are you sure? Sometimes we think we put something somewhere, but it ends up somewhere else. You were so nervous last night. We searched the whole house together through books, kitchen drawers, the laundry basket, even the fridge. Nothing. The ticket had vanished without a trace. I stayed up all night, going over every corner, every possibility. How could such an important piece of paper just disappear? The next morning, Ashley got up early. She said she had to go downtown Portland to take care of something and would be back later in the afternoon. I stayed home, still searching, my stomach burning with anxiety. I even dug through the recycling bin, thinking maybe I had accidentally thrown it away. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't name it. A mother always knows when something is wrong. My heart pounded not just because the Powerball ticket was missing, but because of a strange feeling growing inside me. When Ashley came home late that afternoon, she looked completely different, cheerful, talkative, smiling wider than I'd seen in years. "Mom, you won't believe what just happened," she said, her eyes gleaming. But to help you understand that moment, the moment Ashley walked in with that strange smile, I have to go back to the beginning, to show how we got here, because betrayal doesn't happen in a single day. It grows slowly, fed by small things over the years, things you don't recognize at the time. Ashley was born when I was 23. Her father, Robert, disappeared. The moment he found out I was pregnant, truly disappeared, as if he had never existed. One day he was promising we'd build a future together. The next he was gone from Salem, Oregon, leaving no address behind. I never saw him again. I stayed alone and pregnant, renting a small room in the suburbs of Beaverton, working in a cosmetics factory. When Ashley was born, I held that tiny baby in my arms and whispered, "My daughter, I'll never let you go without. You'll have everything I never did." And I kept that promise, maybe too much. I remember clearly the first time she said, "Mom." That day, I came home exhausted, my feet swollen from standing all day. As soon as I walked in, she crawled toward me, smiling and saying, "Mommy, Mommy." I burst into tears right then. All the fatigue and hardship vanished with that one word. When Ashley turned 2, I found a better job cleaning offices downtown. The pay was higher, but the hours were brutal. Early mornings to late afternoons. Every morning I dropped her off at Mrs. Nelson's daycare, then rushed to catch the bus to work. By evening, I hurried back, breathless and anxious, wondering if she'd eaten enough, if she'd cried too much. "Your daughter is very smart," Mrs. Nelson used to say, "but she gets sad when you're late." Those words cut deep. So many times I thought about quitting my job to spend more time with her, but then I'd ask myself, if I don't work, how will we survive? I had no one to lean on. My mother had died when I was a teenager, and my father had never really been in my life. When Ashley turned 5, I finally saved enough to leave the rental and put a down payment on a small house in the Maplewood area of Portland. The day we moved in, Ashley ran around the tiny yard shouting, "Our house, Mom! Our house!" "That's right, sweetheart, our house," I said, tears filling my eyes. But that joy didn't last long. The monthly payments were crushing, and I had to work weekends just to keep up. Whenever I worked, Ashley stayed with our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, who had a daughter her age. "Don't worry, Deborah," Mrs. Thompson would say. "Ashley's fine here. Go to work with peace of mind." But how could I feel at peace knowing my child was spending more time with someone else than with me? Even on weekends, I worked. Only Sunday nights were ours, the rare time when mother and daughter truly had each other. To make it up to my daughter, I always tried to give her the best of everything. When Ashley turned 7, I insisted on enrolling her in a private school in Portland, even though the tuition was sky high. My daughter deserves a proper education, I told myself. I worked all week just to cover the tuition. "Mom, why do you work so much?" she asked, her eyes full of curiosity. "So you can have a better future than I did, sweetheart." Ashley was bright but also demanding. If her friends had new toys, she wanted them too. If someone wore brand-name clothes, she asked for the same. And me, even when I couldn't afford it, I still found a way. I worked overtime, cut back on food, did whatever it took so she wouldn't feel left out. When she turned 10, she begged, "Mom, I want a birthday party like Madison's." Madison was her classmate, who had just thrown a big party at a kids' event center, clowns, balloons, and a multi-layer cake. I knew I didn't have the money, but I couldn't say no. I borrowed a little from Mrs. Thompson, cooked everything myself, bought some decorations, and hired a clown to come to the house. Ashley threw her arms around me, shouting, "Thank you, Mom. You're the best mom in the world." That moment made me believe every sacrifice was worth it. But what I didn't realize was that, right then, I had planted a dangerous seed. The belief that her mother could always give her everything, no matter how much it cost her. When Ashley became a teenager, things got harder. She wanted designer clothes, Nike shoes, the latest iPhone, all the things her classmates had. "Mom, you don't get it," she said when I tried to explain. "Everyone at school has these things. I can't be the only one who doesn't." I didn't want her to feel left out, so I buried myself in more work, cleaning extra houses, taking night shifts, even selling some of my own belongings to buy her what she wanted. My clothes grew thin and worn, while hers were always new. When it came time for college, Ashley insisted on studying marketing at a private university in Seattle, where tuition cost twice my yearly income. "Mom, it's the only good school. That's where my real future is." I knew it would be an unbearable burden. But how could I refuse? It was my daughter's future. So I threw myself back into work, 4 relentless years of scrubbing and cleaning to pay her tuition. Every day I came home with hands cracked from cleaning chemicals, so sore I couldn't bend my fingers. But seeing Ashley study hard made me proud. Mom, you'll see. When I graduate, I'll get a great job and take care of you. Those words kept me going. I always imagined the day she would become independent and successful, when I could finally rest a little. When Ashley graduated, I threw her a small backyard party. Once again, I had to borrow money. But I couldn't let that day pass quietly. Ashley stood there glowing, diploma in hand. Mom, we did it. My life is about to change for the better. But her life didn't change the way she expected. She started working at a small advertising company in Seattle, but soon got into an argument with her boss. He doesn't appreciate my talent, she said. Then she quit again, found another job, then left that one too. It became a pattern. Every few months, there was another complaint, another reason, and never her fault. Meanwhile, I kept carrying everything alone, paying the bills, buying groceries, covering utilities, keeping the house clean. Ashley contributed very little, always claiming she was between jobs or investing in her own projects. When she got married at 28, I thought she had finally found stability. Her husband, Mark, seemed like a decent man. They rented a small apartment, and for the first time in years, I had my house to myself. But that peace didn't last. Ashley kept calling for help. Mom, I'm short on rent this month. Mom, my car broke down, can I borrow a little money? And I always helped, because she was my daughter, the only family I had. When Ethan, my first grandchild, was born, I thought I'd just be the happy grandmother who visited now and then. But I was wrong. Ashley needed to work, and I became the one caring for the baby all day long. I took care of my grandkids during the day and worked at night. I barely slept, but I never complained. They were my grandchildren, my love, my joy. When Lily was born 2 years later, life became even heavier. 2 little ones, housework, my job. I was nearly 60 and still running myself ragged. Ashley's marriage started to crumble when Lily turned 3. They argued, constantly, mostly about money. He doesn't even try anymore. Ashley sobbed. He doesn't understand me, doesn't appreciate me. And then they divorced without even discussing it. Ashley moved back in with me, bringing the kids and a mountain of luggage. Mom, it's just temporary until I get back on my feet. But month after month, nothing ever stabilized. Ashley tried a few jobs and quit every one of them. The reasons were always the same. Bad hours, low pay, strict boss, jealous coworkers. Meanwhile, I kept paying for everything: electricity, water, internet, groceries, clothes, school supplies for the kids. Sometimes Ashley chipped in a little when she had temporary work. Mom, when I'm stable, I'll pay you back. After all, what mother ever doubts her own child? But there were signs I didn't want to see. Ashley constantly complained, said the house was too small, the neighborhood too poor, my friends too old-fashioned. When I suggested she take a simpler job, she got offended. Mom, I have a college degree. I can't just take some average job. You need quality of life. Her idea of quality of life meant buying expensive clothes, eating out with the kids even when she couldn't pay the bills, and insisting they go to private school when we clearly couldn't afford it. And I stayed silent, paying for everything. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to set boundaries. I thought it was love, fulfilling my duty as a mother and grandmother. When I realized I had won the lottery, my first thought was, now I can finally give her everything she's ever wanted. Now I'll never have to say no again. How foolish of me. The truth was, after all those years, I hadn't raised a grateful daughter. I'd raised someone who believed she was entitled to everything without ever giving back. I had raised a person who saw her mother's sacrifices not as love, but as obligation. When Ashley came home that afternoon, her face glowing as she said she had great news, I was still frantically looking for the missing ticket. But I still believed we were family. We'd share this joy together. "Mom, sit down," she said with the widest smile I'd ever seen. "You're not going to believe this." I sat down, my heart pounding. Something felt strange, like something big was about to happen. "Remember that lottery ticket you bought? The Powerball one?" I froze. "Of course I remember, but it's gone, sweetheart. I looked everywhere for it yesterday." Ashley smiled and shook her head. "Mom, you're so forgetful. I found it this morning in your coat pocket. The paper was all crumpled, almost torn." I sighed in relief, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "You found it? Thank God. That makes sense. I was so anxious yesterday I probably misplaced it." "That's wonderful, sweetheart." "Mom, that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about." Her voice made me uneasy. "What is it, honey?" "Mom, I already went to the bank today. I claimed the prize." I stared at her in disbelief. "What? You claimed the money? Without me?" "Yeah, Mom. The ticket was almost ruined. They said if we waited any longer, they might not be able to verify it. I didn't want to risk losing everything, so I went right away. You understand, don't you?" I didn't fully understand, only that a chill began to spread through my chest. "But how could you claim the money without my ID? Without me being there?" I asked, my heart pounding faster and faster. Ashley took a deep breath. "Mom, they already accepted the ticket. The money's been transferred to my account, $1.7 million. To your account?" My voice trembled more than ever. "Yes, my account. But don't worry, Mom, it's our money. I'll split it with you. Everything will be fair." A deep ache spread through my chest. It wasn't the familiar pain in my back or knees, it was something deeper, sharper. "Ashley, that ticket was mine. I'm the one who bought it." She sighed. "I know, Mom. But it's done now. What matters is that we have the money. Our lives are about to change." I wanted to be happy, but unease washed over me. My daughter, the one I had sacrificed my entire life for, had taken my ticket, claimed the winnings on her own, put the money into her personal account, and said it as if nothing was wrong. "Ashley, you should have woken me up or taken me with you." "Mom, I tried to wake you, but you were sleeping so soundly. And they said the ticket was damaged, it needed to be processed right away." I didn't remember anyone trying to wake me. I was always a light sleeper, even the smallest sound could wake me. But I didn't argue then. I told myself, the important thing is, we won. "Of course, Mom. But first, let me handle a few things: taxes, investments, the technical stuff you don't need to worry about." And that was when the bond I thought could never be broken between mother and daughter began to unravel. 3 days later, the first signs appeared. Ashley started leaving the house early in the morning, coming home late, her hands full of shopping bags from luxury stores downtown. When I asked about dividing the money, she always had an excuse ready. "Mom, I'm investing. I'm managing it wisely." I wasn't stupid. After more than 40 years of working, I could tell when someone was lying. But part of me still believed she would keep her word. After all, she was my daughter, my own flesh and blood. How could she betray her own mother? In the first week, she bought designer clothes. In the second week, she got her hair done. The cost equaled 2 months of my electric and water bills. By the third week, she drove home in a silver SUV worth more than the house I was living in. "Mom, I need to look professional now. It's all about the image," she said confidently, as if explaining it to a naive child. And me? I was still crammed into the bus every day, still paying the electric and water bills, still buying groceries with my meager cleaning wages. The money sat untouched in her account, while I was still struggling to pay the bills. 2 months later, Ashley called me into the kitchen to have a serious talk. Mom, I need to tell you something important. A chill ran down my spine. Go ahead, sweetheart. I've decided to move out. I just signed a lease for a 3-bedroom apartment in the Pearl District. The Pearl District, the most expensive area in the city. I froze. What about me, Ashley? And Ethan and Lily? Of course, the kids are coming with me. They'll have a better life there, better schools, better environment. Better schools paid for with the money from my winning ticket. Ashley, we agreed to split that money. You said so yourself. She sighed, her tone cold. Mom, I have to think about my kids' future. This money needs to be invested properly, not wasted. Wasted, I whispered. In that very moment, I realized the person standing in front of me was no longer my daughter. She was someone else, cold, calculating, and terrifyingly distant. What about the house bills, Ashley? Am I supposed to handle everything on my own now? Mom, you paid the bills before I moved back in, didn't you? So you can pay them again. The moving day came on a Thursday while I was at work. Ashley hired a premium moving service and took everything nice from the house. The dining table I'd spent 2 years paying off. The new refrigerator. The living room sofa. All I had left were the old, worn-out things, like a dog picking at bones after everyone else had eaten the meat. Ashley didn't just take the lottery money. She stole my joy, my pride, and the meaning of my victory. I had won the lottery, but in exchange, I lost everything. In the first few weeks, I tried to stay in touch, calling to ask about Ethan and Lily, hoping to see them. But Ashley was always too busy. Mom, the kids are still adjusting to their new school. Their schedule's packed, maybe next week. But that next week never came. A month later, I started missing bill payments. I called Ashley not to beg, but to ask for what was mine. Sweetheart, I need you to send me my share of the money. Mom, things are really tight right now. The money's all invested, you know that. You owe me that money. Silence on the other end. Then her voice cold enough to freeze my blood. Mom, you're really starting to sound obsessed with this. The money's in my account. I was the one who claimed it. Legally, it's mine. Legally. You'd just waste it on silly things. Silly things like food, electricity, water. The very things that had kept her alive her entire life. Ashley, I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for what's rightfully mine. Mom, stop fighting over money. If you're struggling that much, maybe you should get another job or ask the neighbors for help. Ask the neighbors for help, while my own money sat in her account. Then she said, in a tone that sent a chill straight through my heart, You know what makes me saddest, Mom? It's seeing how greedy you've become. You used to be simple, humble. Now all you care about is money. 2 weeks later, everything changed. I was at the local supermarket buying a few essentials, rice, beans, and some cheap meat, when I suddenly saw Ashley standing in the checkout line. She didn't notice me. She was dressed in designer clothes, her cart overflowing with imported foods, expensive wine, and gourmet cheese. She laughed loudly into her phone, bragging about taking the kids on a trip. I walked up to her. Hi, sweetheart. She turned, looking annoyed. Oh, Mom. How are Ethan and Lily? I haven't seen them in a while. They're fine, Mom. Just busy with school. I glanced down at her cart, fine red wine, imported fruit, luxury food. Mine had discounted rice and frozen meat, and I couldn't hold it in any longer. Right there, in the middle of the crowded supermarket, I raised my voice. Ashley, enough. You took my lottery ticket, put the money in your own account, left me alone in an empty house, and now you pretend you don't even know me. You know what that's called? Stealing. People turned to look. Ashley's face flushed, angry and embarrassed. Mom, stop making a scene. You're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing myself? The one who should be embarrassed is you, the daughter who stole from her own mother. I didn't steal anything. I saved that ticket. You almost lost it. Liar. You took it right out of my wallet. Ashley looked around, seeing the crowd whispering, and her face changed. No longer ashamed, now cold, furious, and unrecognizable. You know what, Mom? I'm done with your emotional manipulation. You raised me, that was your job, not some favor I owe you for life. Ashley, don't say that. No, I'm gonna say it. You've always been small-minded, stuck in your little world with no ambition. I'm not letting you drag me down anymore. Each word felt like a knife straight to my heart. And one more thing, she said. From now on, don't call me. Don't come around. Don't bother me. I need space. I need to live my life without you clinging to me. Then, she walked away through the supermarket, leaving me standing there alone, surrounded by pitying eyes and murmurs. I stood frozen in the aisle, gripping my small cart filled with cheap groceries, my heart aching as if I'd been struck again and again. But when I got home, something inside me had changed. It wasn't pain anymore, it was anger. A cold, sharp, deliberate anger. Ashley had underestimated me. She thought I would stay silent, just as I had for years the gentle mother who always forgave, always covered for her. But this time, she was wrong. That day, I began planning my own justice, not through shouting or chaos, but with proof papers, records, and truth. If my daughter wanted to play dirty, she would learn that a betrayed mother can fight too, and when she fights to win. I would no longer be the naive, blinded mother ruled by love. I would become the woman I once was, smart, determined, unbreakable, just hidden for too long beneath all that maternal devotion. On Monday morning, instead of going to work, I went straight to Mr. Johnson's convenience store, the place where I had bought the Powerball ticket. He had just opened. Good morning, Mrs. Deborah. I heard you won the lottery. Is that true? Hearing that made my stomach twist. Rumors had spread through the neighborhood, but all of them were wrong. It's a long story, Mr. Johnson. I'm actually here because I need your help. I explained briefly, not the private details, just that I needed to prove I was the one who had purchased the ticket on a specific day. Of course I remember, he said. You always buy your ticket on Tuesdays. Same time every week. That day was no different. I even told my wife, Deborah's the most punctual customer I've ever had. Mr. Johnson, do you still have security cameras here? Yeah, but it's an old system. Let me check if the footage from that day's still saved. He led me to the back, to an old computer. After a few minutes of searching, he said, Here, take a look. On the blurry screen, there I was walking into the store, stepping up to the counter, pointing to the lottery ticket, handing over cash, and receiving the ticket. The date and time were clearly visible, exactly as I remembered. Can I get a copy of that? Sure thing. I'll put it on a flash drive for you. That was my first piece of evidence. But I knew to take on Ashley, I'd need more. The next day, I went to the Powerball claim center nearby. The young clerk, familiar with my face, smiled. Hi, Mrs. Deborah. I heard you hit the jackpot. Congratulations. Thank you, sweetheart. But actually, I'm here to ask a technical question. Could you explain how the claim process works? She explained. For prizes over $10,000, the winner has to go to the state lottery office or an authorized bank. They must bring valid identification, a social security number, and the original ticket. No exceptions. What if the ticket is damaged? I asked. In that case, she said, they do a technical verification. They check if the data on the ticket is still readable. And most importantly, the person claiming the prize must prove they're the original buyer. They check everything: the store, the purchase time, even security footage if necessary. My heart started to race. If Ashley had already received the money, how did she get through such a strict process? Or maybe the ticket hadn't been damaged at all, like she said. What if someone tries to claim a ticket that isn't actually theirs? I asked. Her face turned serious. That's a serious offense, ma'am. It's called misappropriation or fraud. People can go to jail for that. I left the lottery office certain now that something was very wrong with Ashley's story. Gathering all my courage, I went to Wells Fargo, the bank where she said she'd claimed the money. I met with the branch manager, a calm, middle-aged man. Sir, I need to ask about a lottery prize that was claimed here. Can you give me more details, ma'am? I explained it was a $1.7 million prize claimed about 2 months ago, but that something seemed off about the process. He looked at me with concern. I can take a look at the file. But you understand. I can't share confidential client information. I understand. But what if I'm the rightful winner? He was silent for a moment, then went to check the system. When he returned, his expression had darkened. Ma'am, there are indeed some inconsistencies in that file, he said. My advice, you should contact an attorney. This may require a formal investigation. I left the bank with a heavy heart, but I knew I was right. Now, I needed someone who could help me. I went to see Mr. Harris, an attorney who worked at the law firm where I used to clean. He had always treated me kindly, never looking down on my job. Mrs. Deborah, he said, tell me everything from the beginning. I told him everything, every detail. He listened carefully, taking notes. Do you have any proof that you're the one who purchased the ticket? I handed him the flash drive with the security footage from Mr. Johnson's store. He watched it, then nodded. Good. And you're certain you didn't authorize your daughter to claim the prize on your behalf? Absolutely certain. That morning, I woke up and the ticket was gone from my wallet. She said she found it in my coat pocket, but that was a lie. Mr. Harris's tone turned serious. This is a serious matter, Mrs. Deborah. What your daughter did could be considered theft or unlawful possession of property. That's a criminal offense. She could be prosecuted. My heart clenched. No matter how much Ashley had hurt me, it pained me to think of my daughter standing in court. Mr. Harris, I said, my voice trembling. I don't want to harm my daughter. I just want my money back. He looked at me calmly. I understand, Mrs. Deborah, but you need to know that financial crimes have consequences. Once you file an official complaint, things will move beyond your control. I asked for time to think, but deep down, I already knew my answer. Ashley had stolen from me, humiliated me, abandoned me. I couldn't let it go. Mr. Harris, I said, go ahead. He began immediately requesting the security footage from the bank, the claim records, all related documents, and then filing a criminal complaint against Ashley Miller. Mrs. Deborah, he said, this case will move quickly. With evidence like this, it will be very hard for anyone to deny what happened. 2 weeks later, the summons arrived. Ashley was ordered to appear at the Portland Police Department to explain how she had claimed the Powerball prize. That evening, my phone rang. It was Ashley, her voice furious. Mom, what the hell is this? I just got a notice from the police. Ashley, you stole from me. Did you really think I'd stay silent forever? I didn't steal anything. I saved that ticket. Then prove it at the station. Are you insane, Mom? You're trying to send your own daughter to jail? How ironic the very daughter who had stolen, abandoned, and humiliated me was now calling me cruel. Ashley, I gave you every chance to make things right. You chose disrespect instead. She hung up. 2 hours later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and almost didn't recognize her. Ashley stood there, hair disheveled, eyes red and swollen, no longer the arrogant woman from the supermarket, but someone desperate. "Mom, please, let's talk. I'll split the money with you 50-50. 50-50. The money that was entirely mine, and now," she spoke as if granting me a favor. "It's too late, Ashley." She started crying, not out of remorse, but out of fear. "Mom, if you don't withdraw the complaint, I'll leave town. You'll never see your grandkids again." Blackmail. Even at rock bottom, she still tried to manipulate me. I looked at her, the child I had once carried in my arms, sung to sleep, protected from every hurt, now just a stranger. This isn't about money, Ashley. It's about respect. It's about dignity. It's about being treated like a human being, not a servant. She glared at me coldly. "Mom, I'll be honest. I never respected you. You've always been a loser, always letting people walk all over you. You think you deserve that money? For what? To fix this dump of a house? To buy a new stove? At least I'm doing something useful." "Useful?" I shot back. "You mean buying designer clothes? Renting luxury apartments? And wasting money? I'm investing in my kids' future, something you never knew how to do." My voice trembled, but I stood firm. "I invested my entire life in you, Ashley. I worked myself to the bone so you could study, so you could have a better life. And now? At 63, I'm still scrubbing floors." Her words hit like a bullet, not because they were cruel, but because they revealed who she truly was. "Thank you, Ashley," I said quietly, "for finally being honest." "Honest?" she sneered. "I've always been ashamed of you. Ashamed when you came to my school in those cheap clothes. Ashamed that you were a cleaner. Ashamed that you lived in this neighborhood." Each word she said cut one more string, tying me to her. And with each one, I felt freed from the blind love I had clung to for far too long. "Well, then this is the result of that love." She glared at me. "You're right, you don't know how to raise a child." "You're right," I said quietly. "I raised an ungrateful thief." Her eyes flashed with hatred. "Thief? I'll show you who the real thief is," she screamed, then slammed the door and stormed out. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with a text message. "Mom, you'll regret this. You're not perfect, and the whole world's about to find out." I didn't understand what she meant, but the next morning, I did. My neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, knocked on my door, breathless. "Deborah, have you seen what your daughter posted on Facebook?" My blood froze. I grabbed my phone. On the screen was a long post from Ashley, along with a photo of me. I need to say this. My mother, controlling and manipulative, is accusing me of stealing a winning lottery ticket. She forgot it at home, and I simply found it and claimed it before it expired. Now she wants everything, even though I'm the one raising 2 kids alone. It's heartbreaking when the person you love most betrays you. The post had dozens of comments. Ashley's friends calling me greedy, cruel, a terrible mother. Strangers joined in, judging me too. But I didn't feel angry. I only felt pity. Pity that my daughter had fallen so far. The case dragged on for 3 months. 3 months of hearings, thick files, and endless examinations. Mr. Harris had been right. The case was clear. The store's camera footage showed, beyond doubt, that I was the one who purchased the ticket. Records from Wells Fargo also revealed inconsistencies in Ashley's statements during the claim process. During that time, Ashley tried everything. At first, she denied everything. Then she claimed I had given her permission, and when denial failed, she changed tactics. One Thursday afternoon, I got an unexpected call. "Grandma, is that you?" A small voice said. It was Ethan, my grandson. My heart trembled. Sweetheart, how did you get Grandma's number? I took Mom's phone. Grandma, are you mad at us? My eyes blurred with tears. No, sweetheart, never. Why would you think that? Mom said you don't want to see us anymore because you're suing her. She said you don't love our family anymore. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Even with her own child, Ashley was still lying. Listen, Ethan. Grandma loves you and your sister more than anything in the world. What's happening between me and your mom doesn't change that. I couldn't speak. How could I explain to an 8-year-old that his mother had stolen from his grandmother? It's complicated, sweetheart, but Grandma's trying to make things right, okay? Grandma, he whispered. Mom's been crying a lot lately. At night, I hear her crying in her room. Those words pierced my heart. Even after everything, I couldn't completely shut out the pain of my own child. I have to go now, sweetheart. But remember, Grandma loves you very, very much. I love you too, Grandma. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Ethan said about Ashley crying. Was she truly remorseful or just afraid of prison? A week later, I got my answer. On Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and froze. Ashley was standing there, but she wasn't the same Ashley anymore. She was thin, pale, her hair unkempt, her face aged by at least 10 years. Mom, can I come in? I need to talk. I hesitated. After everything, I didn't know if I could trust her anymore. But her eyes, tired, hollow, made me open the door. She stepped inside, standing quietly in the living room, looking around. The house looked different now. I had bought a few new things with the money I recovered after the legal process. Nothing fancy, but warm and tidy. Your house is beautiful, Mom, she whispered. Thank you, sweetheart. We sat down at the kitchen table, the place that held so many memories. The air was heavy, silence stretching between us. Mom, I came to apologize. I said nothing. I mean it. Not because of the lawsuit. Not because I want you to withdraw it, but because, for the first time, I really understand. These past 3 months have been hell, she said, her voice trembling. Not because of court or fear of prison, but because for the first time in my life, I had to stop and think about what I've done. Tears streamed down her face. I stole from you, Mom. Not just money. I stole your trust, your peace, your pride. When you finally had a chance to be happy, I took it away. Why did you do it, Ashley? I asked softly, my voice breaking. She wiped her tears and spoke quietly. Because I was selfish. I always thought I deserved more than you. I looked at you and saw limits, not the strong woman who raised me alone. When I saw that winning ticket, all I thought about was myself, the life I wanted, the things I could buy. I didn't think about you. I didn't think about how much it would hurt you. And now? I asked gently. What's changed? She stopped, looked straight at me. My kids. They started asking questions. Ethan asked why you don't visit anymore. And Lily cried because you didn't come to her school performance. Mom, Ashley choked. Out. I didn't know what to tell them. How do you explain to your kids that their mother stole from their grandmother and drove her out of her home? I looked at my daughter and asked softly, So, what did you tell them, Ashley? I lied, she said, eyes red. I told them you went on a trip, that you were busy, but they're not stupid. They can feel it. Ashley sat down, her shoulders trembling. When I look in the mirror now, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I'm not the kind of mother I wanted to be, and I'm definitely not the kind of daughter you deserved. I sighed, my voice thick with emotion. Ashley, you know I can't just forget everything that's happened. I know, Mom, and I'm not asking you to forget. I'm just asking for one chance to make things right. A chance? I asked softly. And how would you do that? By starting with the truth, she said. In court, I'll confess everything. No more lies, no excuses, no running away. I was wrong, and I'll take responsibility. I froze. That was the last thing I ever expected to hear from my daughter. And second, she continued, I'll give everything back, what's left of the money, the car, the clothes, everything I bought with it. And how will you live? The same way you always did, Mom, by working hard, with honesty, and raising my kids with dignity. She took my hands, her voice trembling. Mom, I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe you'll never trust me again. But I want you to know I finally learned the lesson. What lesson, Ashley? That having everything means nothing if you lose your integrity. That wealth is worthless if your soul is poor. Go ahead, sweetheart. Why didn't you give up on me? Why didn't you just let me destroy myself? I thought for a moment, then answered softly, because sometimes people have to hit rock bottom before they can look up again, and because no matter what happens, you're still my daughter. Ashley burst into tears. For the first time in years, she wasn't crying out of anger or shame, but out of release. Mom, what can I do to earn a second chance? Start with what you said, tell the truth, return the money, and take responsibility. Then prove it every single day with your actions. I looked at my daughter. I no longer saw the arrogant, selfish woman she once was, only the lost little girl trying to find her way back home. Ashley, I said gently, I'll always be your mother. The question is, do you really want to be my daughter? She broke down, hugging me tightly. Then we'll start over, I whispered. Slowly, with patience. But we'll start. In the months that followed, Ashley kept her promise. She confessed everything in court, returned the money, sold her car, and found work at a small office in Portland. She lived simply and honestly. It wasn't easy. We had hard conversations, many tears, and long silences. But there were also new beginnings. Now, I live in a small, tidy, and cozy house. I have enough savings to feel secure. I no longer work full-time, but I still take on part-time jobs just to feel useful. Ashley rents a modest apartment nearby. My grandkids visit every weekend. Our relationship isn't what it used to be now. It has boundaries, respect, and truth. Ashley is still on probation and doing community service, but she accepts it with dignity because she understands that every mistake comes with a price. Sometimes people ask me, Deborah, do you ever regret forgiving her? Aren't you afraid she'll hurt you again? I just smile. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. Forgiving means choosing love over bitterness. It means believing people can change while also learning to protect yourself. Has Ashley changed? They ask. Day by day. I reply. She's changing. As for me, I've changed too. I've learned to value myself, to set boundaries, and to understand that love doesn't mean letting others walk all over you. Our story doesn't end like a fairy tale, but it's a real ending. One where a mother and daughter both realize true love sometimes has to pass through pain to become stronger. The story of Deborah and Ashley is a work of fiction, inspired by real experiences, with names and places changed to protect privacy. None of us are perfect. Sometimes love blinds us, and pain becomes the lesson that helps us grow. Deborah chose to forgive without forgetting, to stand up instead of staying silent. And you, what would you do? If someone you love betrayed your trust, would you stay silent or speak up for your own justice? Whatever your answer, I believe God always sees honest hearts and blesses those who choose to live truthfully, forgive, and keep loving. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Choose one of the two most loved videos on your screen. Who knows? Another story might touch your heart today.